Welcome back to the series. In the last episode, episode 6, we focused on what I call the middle songs of the album, talking about Metallica's Black Album. We looked closely at Wherever I May Roam, Don't Tread on Me, and Through the Never. Those songs show Metallica stepping outside of their comfort zone, both musically and lyrically. They explore new rhythms, deeper themes, and a broader sound while still holding on to their heavy roots. This video is episode 7 of a 10-episode series where we break down the album piece by piece. Each episode focuses on a different part of the record, so we can really understand why it became so important, not just for metal fans, but music fans in general. I'm going to talk about 3 songs. The first one will be Nothing Else Matters. This was their big ballad, which was very popular in the day. And I'm going to address the Kip WInger dart throwing incident. And I found a clip of an interview, which I'll play in about a minute or so. But after that, I want to talk about Of Wolf and Man, which is really cool because it's about werewolves and transformation and has some interesting influences. And lastly, The God That Failed, which is a personal story about James Hetfield, his mother, cancer, and religion. All that's coming up. So let me start with the first one. Let's start with Nothing Else Matters. This song was a huge turning point for Metallica. Before this album, Metallica was not known for emotional ballads. They were known for speed, anger, aggression. They had ballads, but they were like darker ones. But Nothing Else Matters stripped all that down and replaced it with honesty. Musically, the song starts very soft. Clean guitars are slow. The intro is slow. It's calm. It's gentle. There's no rush. Notes are allowed to breathe. Drums are simple. The bass supports the melody instead of driving it. This alone was shocking for many fans at the time. But the real power of the song is in the lyrics. James Hetfield wrote Nothing Else Matters as a very personal song. It was not meant to be a Metallica song at first. It was written about trust, distance, and staying connected while being on the road all the time. Lines like "so close no matter how far" are simple but very powerful. They speak to anyone who has been away from someone they care about. The song is about letting your guard down and admitting that some things really do matter. For a band that was once all about toughness, this was a big step. Hetfield is not yelling here. He's not hiding behind anger. He's singing clearly and emotionally. You can hear the vulnerability in his voice. The song showed the world that Metallica could be human, not just heavy. And because of that, Nothing Else Matters reached people who had never listened to metal before. They played it on rock radio, pop radio, even weddings. It became one of our most famous songs. The track proved that being honest can be just as powerful as being loud. The song was popular. It became a global anthem. It transcended metal. It appealed to broad audiences with its vulnerable lyrics and cinematic sound. It reached high chart positions. It became a staple for weddings and graduations, and it earned billions on YouTube views. It solidified its status as one of Metallica's most famous and enduring songs, despite some initial purist backlash. It hit top 10 in numerous European countries. For example, it reached number 1 in Denmark, and number 11 on Billboard's mainstream rock tracks, driving the album's massive sales. But now, let me address the Kip WInger thing in the music video for Nothing Else Matters. There is a famous scene where Metallica drummer Lars Ulrich is seen throwing darts at a poster of Kip WInger, frontman of hair metal band Winger. The scene was filmed in the studio during the recording of the Black Album. The band would also pin up posters of musicians they found obnoxious from magazines like Circus and Cream and used for target practice. Along with the ridicule from MTV's Beavis and Butthead, this contributed to a major decline in Winger's popularity as the musical climate shifted towards grunge in the early 1990s. Former Winger guitarist Red Beach noticed that ticket sales plummeted shortly after these cultural jabs. Now, let me comment on this first of all. I think it doesn't really have to do with the Metallica or Beavis and Butthead. I think it was just changing to grunge and music changing in general. But anyway, let me talk about let me play the clip of an interview. It's an interview of Kip WInger talking about it many years ago. So let's roll to that.
Why Lars threw those darts at your head all those years ago in the video?
No, man, you can see a video on Howard Stern where he's going, man, I threw darts at Kip, but it was nothing personal. And he's never apologized, but James Hetfield called me about a year and a half ago and apologized for the incident, and James was really cool. And I could, James is the kind of guy I could totally be friends with. And he was very sincere, and it wasn't like he just called to apologize and then blow me off. He's actually texted me a few times. We text every now and then. I don't think Lars would ever call me to apologize. Everybody was just young kids and they were thinking it was funny. To me, it's not funny, but who knows? I don't know. I can't answer to that.
So I find it interesting that James really made amends with Kip, but Lars kind of blew it off. I guess it boils down to they were still young. I'm sure they were in their 20s when it happened. And just like Kip said, they were kids being dumb, I guess. So I think it's kind of water under the bridge at this point. Next up is A Wolf and Man. After the softness of Nothing Else Matters, the song brings back aggression, but in a very controlled way. It's the 9th track from the Black Album, and it was written by James Hetfield, Lars Ulrich, and Kirk Hammett, and it's recognized for its heavy mid-tempo groove and primal themes. Lyrics are written from the perspective of a shapeshifter or a werewolf undergoing a transformation during a full moon. Beyond the literal werewolf story, the song explores primal animalistic instincts within humans. Hetfield has noticed it reflects a desire to return to a simpler, more primitive way of life. The title is a play on John Steinbeck's novella Of Mice and Men, and reportedly it was inspired from the 1981 film Wolfen, as well as the writings of H.P. Lovecraft. Bob Rock initially found the concept of writing about a werewolf ridiculous, but later appreciated the deeper introspective meaning James Hetfield brought to the lyrics. The song features a signature Metallica key change from E to F in the chorus, which contributes to its aggressive and commanding feel. As of January 2025, A Wolf and Man has been performed 266 times, and it was included on S&M from 1999. The song was famously performed with the San Francisco Symphony, adding this orchestral layer to the heavy riff. And it is part of their touring rotation. I think one of the last times they played was September 2024 during the 72 Seasons tour in Mexico City. I'm sure they played it again afterwards. I'm just going by what I found in my research. But anyway, there's also a 1993 live version from Nuremberg, Germany, and it's featured on the 30th anniversary remastered deluxe box set released in 2021, which is what I have here, and it has 3 discs. So one day, in one of these episodes, I'm going to completely unbox this. But anyway, back to A Wolf and Man. It's heavier, it's faster, it's groovier, but unlike the ruthless speed of early albums like Kill 'Em All and Master of Puppets, A Wolf and Man is more of a mid-tempo, groove-heavy track. It replaces that rapid-fire staccato thrash with heavier, more deliberate stomp. The band consciously moved away from the long, progressive, multi-layered songs. Of songs like And Justice for All, the song uses a more refined approach. There's fewer riffs, just basically the main ones, and it kind of gets the point across. Bob Rock wanted to do this. He wanted the guitars to be heavier, more saturated. He wanted the drums to be simpler and punchier. And he didn't want the production to be muddled, which was kind of the sound of previous records when there was all this stuff going on. But James Hetfield makes the transition from the barking to the shouting, and it's kind of like a different style of vocals where it's more of like a crooning style with more vibrato and more resonant delivery. I think a good comparison to A Wolf and Man would be Harvester of Sorrow from And Justice for All. It kind of has that same type of groove, that more like they're not going for speed, they're just going for a traditional heavy metal sound. The final song of the episode is The God That Failed. This one of the darkest and most personal songs Metallica has ever wrote. The 10th track in the album. Musically, it's a mid-tempo chug. It has a heavy groove. It's emotional, it's raw, and they give a great performance. The first Metallica song recorded with an E-flat guitar tuning, a half step lower than the usual E standard. The lower tuning makes it a little heavier and uglier, as described by James Hetfield. And the song is famous for the distinctive opening bass riff by Jason Newsted. So we've talked about this before. We know Jason's bass is all over this album. I think Bob Rock wanted to make sure that happened, and there was a lot of bass. And this is a great song for that. But the song moves away from thrash. It's more powerful, it's more of a groove, it has the mid-tempo chug, and it's not just pure speed. Kirk Hammett's solo is one of the most celebrated on the album. It's constructed from over a dozen takes, features melodic passages played an octave higher than originally planned. They didn't want to sound too pretty, and it incorporates expressive techniques like string bending and trills and legato runs. The rhythm section features James Hetfield's down-picking and palm-muted guitar chords, and that drives the aggressive pulse of the verses. Hetfield's vocals are more melodic and vulnerable compared to the earlier, thrashier songs on the previous records, and the track uses octaves in the intro to create a sense of space before the main riff kicks in. But the most important aspect of this song, I think, is our lyrics, because they are very autobiographical. They're written by James Hetfield to process the trauma of his mother's death and his upbringing in Christian Science. When James was 16, his mother, Cynthia, was diagnosed with cancer due to her family's strict Christian Science beliefs, which hold that sickness is an illusion to be cured through prayer rather than medicine. She refused all conventional treatment. Cynthia's health rapidly declined. James watched her wither to nothing, while practitioners came to the house to pray for a miracle that never arrived. She passed away in February 1980. Hetfield had a profound sense of betrayal by both the religion and his mother's choice. He believed her cancer might have been curable with modern medicine and felt she prioritized her faith over her children. The song reflects the alienation Hetfield felt as a child, such as being forced to leave health class because he wasn't allowed to learn about human biology. There are some powerful lines in the song, such as the healing hand held back by the deepened nail. The line refers to the crucifixion of Jesus, suggesting that the promise of divine healing was ultimately nailed down and ineffective. Broken is the promise, betrayal, direct references to the failed promise that faith alone would save his mother. Writing the track for the Black Album served as a form of autotherapy for Hetfield. It allowed him to finally vocalize the anger and grief he carried for over a decade. Hetfield continued to explore his relationship with his mother in later songs, notably the country rock ballad Mama Said from 1996's album Load. Together, these three songs show why this album connected with so many people. Nothing Else Matters showed vulnerability. A Wolf and Man showed raw instinct and identity. The God That Failed showed anger mixed with personal loss. The range of emotion was new for Metallica. They were no longer just a metal band. They were storytellers. They were willing to be honest, even when it was uncomfortable. Because of this, the album reached beyond metal fans. People who never cared about heavy music could still connect with these songs. That's why the album became so important, and that's why it still matters today. If you're enjoying this series, make sure to check out the playlist here on the screen right here. This playlist includes all episodes in the 10-part series. I update it every time a new episode is released or whenever I make it. If you found this episode helpful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.